Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. It's another episode of the Pottscast, the Pottscast Wrestling Edition. You can find us on Twitter at PottscastWC. It's been a big day in the wrestling world. Of course, the world has been tweeting. Of course it has, especially the internet wrestling community. We're here to talk about the WWE releases today. Big names, of course, Samoa Joe, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, Bo Dallas, Mickie James, Kalisto, Mojo, Rawley, Wesley Blake, Tucker, Chelsea Green were the names released. It wouldn't surprise me, actually, if there's some more to come the rest of the week, maybe even into next week at some stage, but certainly the 10 today caused a bit of a stir. Samoa Joe, probably particularly given his talent in ring and also as a commentator, broadcaster, presenter, any way that you want to word it, he was probably alongside Corey Graves the best to listen to at WrestleMania, considering we had to listen to Michael Cole, which is almost as bad as listening to Dave Meltzer. But hey, we're not here to slag off Dave Meltzer. But some of the things that I've seen today is people on the internet wrestling community, I suppose, on Twitter, different things like that. They've sort of almost battered the WWE as if like, how dare you do this? How could you do this? But from my perspective, I think WWE is a business. They're there to make money. And if they've decided to release these people, whether I agree with it or not, and some of them I'm not bothered about, and that may sound a little bit harsh because, of course, they are people at the end of the day and this is a job, but some of them I think probably had served their time there and would have been better moving on. And I think it's probably best for all cases that it happens. Some other ones, of course, Samoa Joe, for example, is maybe catastrophic to an extent, especially for some wrestling fans. One of the best sort of workers in the ring. He's great at promo, outstanding on commentary, as I mentioned. He's pretty much an all-rounder who can do it all. He can put people over. He's believable as a main event star, etc., etc. So Samoa Joe one to me is the biggest surprise. Some other people released. Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, obviously former women's tag team champions. I think for them, it's probably a good thing in a very strange way, because I think they can go and prove themselves somewhere else. You know, Deonna Purrazzo, Impact, she was released last year, coming off probably the best year of her career after being released. And we all sort of looked back at the time and thought, oh, they've made a massive mistake. And they have. Look at the year that she has had. She's done amazingly well. I think Billie Kay, Peyton Royce can follow that example, whether they go to Impact, AEW, or somewhere else. There's oceans for wrestling talent right now. There are so many options. There's oceans, there's rivers to swim in, as we would say back home, and they won't be short of work. Mickie James is another one, former women's champion. I sort of was surprised more so by Mickie James in terms of locker room leader. They done obviously a big WWE YouTube thing between her and Trish Stratus before WrestleMania, reliving that epic match from WrestleMania 22, I think it was. Was it 21, 22? I think it's 22. It is 22 because 21 was Trish and Christy Hemme, if my memory serves me correct, but double check me on that. I thought she could have been a foil for perhaps Rhea Ripley or Bianca Belair, not as an actual threat to take the title away, but someone, a veteran who was frustrated at being looked over, wins a couple of matches on Raw, SmackDown, whatever, gets a title shot at maybe a B-list pay-per-view that helps solidify Belair or Ripley, something like that. I think Mickie James was good enough to do that. I was quite surprised that she was let go, but here we are. It'd be interesting to see where she goes. Could she go to NWA with Nick Aldis, her husband, of course, and could she then fight Thunder Rosa, whoever the NWA Women's Champion is? I'm not actually sure. I'm not a huge follower of NWA, albeit when I've watched it, I've enjoyed it. Kalisto, another one who's probably been treading water a little bit in the WWE for a long period of time. Quite crazy, actually, when you look back and think he was winning titles at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, albeit it was a preview show. Mojo Rawley, I think, another one who I do think it's pretty much the end of his time, and he probably did need to move on, and hopefully he moves on to bigger and better things, but wasn't really used well in the WWE, to be perfectly blunt. But they have that great a depth in terms of the roster. Not everyone can be used well. You look at someone like Becky Lynch, who was former women's champion, but was kind of treading water a little bit, I suppose, before she kind of got herself over via social media, via mic skills, all that sort of stuff. And you kind of are waiting for someone to take the bull by the horns and kind of, I don't know, drag it to where they need it to be for them to get over, because certainly more so than I'm frustrated with WWE for releasing these guys, because there is a lot of talent that has been released. I think it's more of a blight on their creativity. of their booking committee, of their writers, because some of the talent that they've let go, they've obviously let them go because they've nothing for them. And that's more of an issue with creative, with booking, with writing and all that sort of stuff. And from a business standpoint, they're looking at it going, nothing for these guys. They're just taking up salary. We're a business. We're here to make money. It's time to let people go. And they do this every year around this time, especially the last couple of years, I suppose. You know, people are a bit frustrated. They've just come off of a very good WrestleMania with fans back. The feel-good factor was there. Not a great episode of Raw. It was okay. Anticipation building for SmackDown. NXT was okay on Tuesday night. So they had a bit of momentum going with fans being back at WrestleMania, with sort of this time of year, people are sort of interested in wrestling. Where's it going to go? Are they going to tune in for the next year? Are they going to tune out again and return at the Royal Rumble, which a lot of my friends do? And it probably came at a bad time. Timing is the essence, and I think WWE have got it wrong here in terms of releasing people. But it is what it is. They're a business. They're entitled to let people go. They're entitled to cut their roster, to cut their costs like any other business. I think we need to look at it in that aspect as well. I think sometimes we act as if we personally know these people. We don't. Maybe some of you are listening to me. Maybe you've met some of them and maybe you know them, you know, to take a photo with, say hello to. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and they're in the position and the idea and the mentality that they want to make money. So it is what it is. I have seen several people tweeting today. Scott Robertson had a bit of a chat with me on Twitter, whose YouTube channel is really good. Check out some of his stuff, by the way. He reviews various pay-per-views from bygone years, gives his thoughts on that. It's really good stuff. He was a bit frustrated today, but understandably so. I think everyone was. I tried to look at it from a point of view that this is a business decision, not a personal decision. And did I disagree with some of the releases? Absolutely. Of course I did. But at the end of the day, it's a business. They're entitled to do what they want. Like I said, it's a blight on their creativity, but more on their booking team and their writing more than anything else. But Scott, completely off topic. SummerSlam 2002, in my opinion, the greatest SummerSlam of all time. Do a review on that, or maybe you're saving it for the summer this year. I don't know. No Way Out 2003, Backlash 2003, two very fun pay-per-views in my opinion. Nothing amazingly standout-ish on them, but just fun throughout. Review those at some stage. I'd like to hear your review on both of those. Chris Dees, I think it's Dees, might be Dez, not too sure. Hope I haven't butchered his name, Chris. Apologies if I have. When I say Chris Dez, some people might be flashing back to the old Match of the Day, Des Lynam presenting football back in the UK. He put up a fun tweet today. I really liked it. Battle Royal of ex-WWE guys, bitter WWE guys, who would win? And I'm going to call the winner right now, Scott Steiner, and throw that into bit of a reference to Scott and No Way Out 2003. Scott Steiner was on that show. Scott Steiner wins the Battle Royal of ex-bitter WWE stars. Anytime he has a live microphone, he can't resist a dig at Triple H. Very, very interesting today that Dave Meltzer was quite quiet. I expected Dave, Dave Meltzer, I'm trying to impersonate the way he talks on his radio show, as Dave Meltzer would have said, I think he had up that Roman Reigns was going to be released, and then plans changed. Of course it did, Dave. Kidding. Another one, Faz's Thoughts, another guy on Twitter whose content I love. He put up a really interesting tweet today that AEW has 90 plus guys signed to the roster. That's insane for a company that has one TV show a week. I know they do the YouTube channel stuff and they have a couple of shows on there a week, but when you look at the numbers who are watching on YouTube compared to the numbers that they're obviously drawing in on the Wednesday night now unopposed, over 1 million, which is incredible, by the way, and congratulations. I'm not the biggest AEW fan. I like some stuff and I dislike most of the other stuff, but I pick and choose. If I like it, I'll watch it. If I think it's going to be rubbish, I'll skip it. It is what it is. I don't watch it live. I can't watch it live. I find myself quite frustrated watching it live, but it is what it is. He put up the AEW Faz's Thoughts. AEW had 90 plus guys signed, and a lot of people were going, oh, this person should go to AEW, this person should go to AEW, and so on and so forth. And maybe they should. For example, I think AEW would be mental not to be going for Samoa Joe. We don't know the story of Samoa Joe. Maybe, and I'm totally guessing and inferring and stuff here, but maybe Samoa Joe wanted to get back in the ring. Maybe WWE were like, no, you're great on the commentary team. We don't want to lose you. And there was a clash and someone had to leave. And it was Joe, obviously, because Vince isn't going anywhere. Or maybe it was, I think is it Nick? I can't remember the guy's last name, who's the CEO right now or whatever it is. But maybe he decided he was going because Who knows? Maybe Joe wanted another run. Maybe he wanted a run in the ring. I think we all would have loved that. Maybe they liked him on commentary. He was doing some of those like interviewee type things. He had a really good YouTube video with Edge. I think it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, somewhere around there on YouTube. It was really good. Maybe they liked him on that media side, that broadcasting side, that presenting side, and maybe he wanted another run in the ring. Maybe he wanted a world title run. And let's be honest, Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, the guys in and around that world title scene, WWE weren't going to give Samoa Joe it, which to me is a tremendous shame, but maybe there's a disagreement there. And he's thought, you know what, I want another run. And if that is the case, AEW should be chasing him out, should be chasing him with their checkbook out, because fantastic wrestler, fantastic promo, excellent all-rounder. He's a big name. He's going to draw eyeballs. He can put on a title match with pretty much anybody. He walks straight into their main event unless their booking is as horrendously bad as it has been for Miro, for example. Although I do have Joe elevated a lot higher than Miro in terms of overall ability and whatnot. I'm just using that as an example of per booking. But AEW should be chasing Joe with their checkbook out because he is a huge name in the pro wrestling world. Who else could be used? Chelsea Green, I think, is a bit of a fan favorite of some. I know a couple of my friends were really excited to see her come back, and they couldn't believe she was released just after coming back from injury. I could see her end up in Impact, which is totally fine. Tucker, another one. I don't think they ever should have broken up Tucker and Otis, Heavy Machinery, and I think it was inevitable that Tucker would go eventually. And sadly, he has gone. You know, there was those jokes flying around, which I thought weren't very nice. Around the time of Heavy Machinery breaking up, that Tucker would be future endeavored, and he responded to those saying, hey guys, I do have a wife and kids, a bit of respect, and whatever it was that he said. And he was 100% right. Wesley Blake, he might go back to Impact and team up with his former teammate who is now in Impact as well. There's plenty of opportunity for these guys. The independent scene in wrestling is bigger than it's ever been before. There's Ring of Honor, there's NWA, there's AEW, there's New Japan. There's so many options for these people. And as the example that I used, Deanna Purrazzo last year, she went to Impact and has been an absolute star over there. So I don't think, as much as it's a sad day and a frustrating day for some, I don't think it's the end of the world. And I think a lot of these guys who have been released, Bo Dallas, another one who I haven't really touched on, they could be looking at this as a way to go out and prove a point. And I hope they do. And I'm pretty excited to see where they all end up and what happens next. But like I said, Faz's thoughts, he put up that AEW had over 90 plus guys, and I got completely sidetracked talking about ratings and went all over the place. But 90 plus guys on their show. They probably shouldn't be after all these people that were released today, but you know, the internet wrestling community seems to think they should be for some of them anyway. I would, if I was AEW, be chasing Samoa Joe. I would be chasing Peyton Royce. I would probably be chasing Kalisto if I could get him, because he fits their sort of style of just go in and have a high flip crazy kind of match without really building too much of a story about it. That's one of my main issues with AEW. There's loads of cool matches, high spotty stuff without the story behind it. Stuff which should be saved for pay-per-views, big giant moves over the top rope. All that kind of craziness happens on a weekly basis, which gives it no kind of wow factor when it happens on pay-per-view. But completely sidetracking, those are the guys that caught my attention today. Chris Dees, Faz's Thoughts, Scott Robertson. Check out their stuff, the In Your House podcast, I believe, for Faz's Thoughts and Chris Dees. Didn't write it down. Check it out on YouTube, Twitter, etc. But as for me, I'm Darren Potts. I am representing the Pottscast at WC. Give me a follow, give me abuse, tell me I am wrong. Enter in with me, debate, challenge, ask me questions, whatever. I'm not the type of guy who's going to sit here and call people names. I'll just respond to you and give you my thoughts. But thank you for watching this video. If you made it to the end, you're a legend. This is only available on YouTube. This won't be a podcast. New podcast is coming soon. Hoping to have some new guests on there. Trying to debate what topic to go with, but we'll get there. But yeah, at the Pottscast WC. And thank you so much for listening and watching this video. All the best. And we'll see you pretty soon, I hope.